I don't know if you just heard me yell at my husband in the next room.
I did not, so
He's
we're okay.
okay. He's at this point playing games right now, so he gets loud because he has his noise canceling headphones. So I'm like, please just don't be yelling in the background while I'm doing this.
I get it. I have a 12-year-old that games out hardcore, and I'm always like, girl.
Yeah,
And
I
she's like,
get that way too,
what?
but
How are you?
I'm good. I'm going through things these last couple days, so I'm like, this is very interesting. I don't know if you've seen any of my TikToks today,
I've
as
seen
I've
a
been.
couple, and I was like, okay. So we're gonna like let some stuff, I feel,
Yeah, yeah.
go
I don't
through.
know what it is. I've had 2 naps today because of this. I'm like, it's just this like consistent draining of energy where and like the whole time I'm having like names and images coming to me, and it's just like I'm like I'm sleeping, but I'm not getting rest. I'm like, what is going on?
Name it.
But
Well, yeah, but did you? Okay, so I did see one thing that you did when you were like, oh, I took a browse through the pictures and then later I'll go back and like do them.
which picture? Oh, yes.
As soon as you browsed, you
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're anything like me, but me, I can't sit down and do it until I'm sitting down to do it because if I browse,
Yeah.
then it's all there and it's just gonna do this on repeat until I get
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that's like I haven't even been doing those readings anymore for the last couple days because I had that sale had ended and I restarted it yesterday because I was like, I want to do more of these. But I've been having like I'm not a medium. I've never claimed to be a medium. And so I've been having medium experiences these last few days and just confirmed one last night with something that happened in our house. And ever since then I've just been extremely drained. And a friend of mine who is a medium, she's like, I saw this coming some time ago. She's like, I was waiting for you to say something. And some other people are saying that it has something to do with the Lionsgate portal that's opening. I don't know anything about that. I'm not an astrologist, so I wouldn't know, but
If you're connected, so I dabble in astrology and I wouldn't say I'm a medium by any means. I just know that I've like,
mm-hmm.
had that gift since I was a kid. So
Yeah.
I don't do it for people on purpose, as you said, or with
Mm-hmm.
purpose, right? Just probably 3 years ago, I started actually really properly working on the gift and like doing more of it and being less afraid of it and like figuring out how to protect because that was always my biggest
Mm-hmm.
thing. Because as soon as you open, you're like, if it was a dark room and then you turn a light bulb on,
Yeah.
they all are just gonna go to the light, right? And you will get overwhelmed and it you can
Mm-hmm.
let stuff in, especially because you have such a strong gift in other things, right? You're
Yeah.
already bright. So as soon as you figure out or as soon as you connect, make sure you're definitely really well protected before you do
Yeah.
it. Because if you are feeling
Yeah.
like who knows what's been like following you around the last couple of days because you were like, hey, is there anything?
Uh-huh.
So it's like smudge, sage, whatever, clear the house, whatever you need to do. Tell it to go the fuck
Mm-hmm.
away, get a good night's sleep, bath, eat well. And if
Yeah.
that changes how you feel, then you know that's
Yeah.
if you still feel like shit, well then it's something else.
Yeah.
But
In any case, it's adventure time for me. So I've always seen it that way. Coming into my gifts when I was like 14, that was the last time I had like this kind of download, I guess, some are calling it. And I mean that was when I was really first coming into the gifts to the point of like, wow, something is happening. And so that was the last time I've had anything like this because I've played with my gifts since then, since I was 14. So it's an interesting experience to be an adult now going through
100%
this.
just answered my first question, which is so funny too, because we didn't really do an intro. I thought about it and I was like, like really at the end of the day, hi, welcome everyone to Spirituality Speaks. I am Melissa Romak. I am your host. I am interviewing Miss Diana Robertson from Runes and Ravens. But yeah, like you just, we're already talking about what I wanted to talk about, which is exactly that. When I got my first tarot deck when I was 14,
Mm-hmm.
I read my cousin, and you know, those tarot decks back in the day came with like a big fold out like piece of paper
Mm-hmm.
down that tells you where in the spread to put the cards and what it means and all
Yeah.
of that. And I was so excited. And I pulled out the deck, like card one, I shuffled, card two, I shuffled, card three, I shuffled. And I went to go pull card four, and I was like, oh, wait, I screwed up. All right. I was like, I fucked up. Hold on. All right. And I like grab everything back and I reshuffled. I'm like, I'll do it again because I messed up. And my cousin was like, okay, whatever you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Pull the same three cards, and the fourth one was
Mm-hmm.
different, right? But it freaked me out, and I didn't touch cards again for 8, 9 years.
Oh, wow.
I was that like, whoa. And
Mm-hmm.
it's when it's so intense and overpowering, it's hard to explain, but it can definitely make you kind of take a step back and be like, whoa, what,
Yeah.
wait, what just happened? Because when they come hard. And that's, I don't know about
Mm-hmm.
yourself, but myself, I always try to like, suggest to people to get a mentor, not necessarily a
Mm-hmm.
coach. Okay, I'm not preaching that. I'm just saying someone that is more experienced than them, particularly on whatever
Yeah.
path they're choosing or opening up to. Hopefully someone with like good intentions and your best interests in mind. But
Mm-hmm.
if you can find someone to talk to, and because then your psyche doesn't, like I've known, I've even had family members, that have gone through severe like mental health issues opening
Mm-hmm.
without telling anybody
Yeah.
because you feel crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I luckily have a friend of mine who she's an evidential medium, and I'll be sitting and talking with her a little bit. At least just to, get me started in the right direction when it comes to mediumship, because this was something that I have avoided for, I mean, most of my life. I've had experiences here and there. I've had people come through, but never on purpose. And it was never anything that I really pushed for. I didn't want to walk that path because I was like, this is what I'm good at. I'm going to focus on this and, get really good at this. And instead of, spreading myself and sticking my fingers in all these different pies, I want to know that I'm good at the one thing and know that this is what I'm bringing to the table. And now I'm just kind of at this point where, I've also asked, the universe and being like, all right, I'm ready for the next step in my journey. Like, what do I do next? What should I be focusing on next? And then these kinds of things are happening. And I luckily have, at least some people who I do trust, and I've seen how they work, and I've seen that they are people with, good intentions, that they're not out to mess people up or to, create some sort of audience for themselves or something, that they just do it to help people and to,
Yeah.
make the connections. Yeah. So I'm like, well, this is perfect. This is great. Awesome.
Well, and I connect. It's so funny too, because there's so many people that I follow on TikTok or whatever when I got into the community. Because with myself, there was only a handful at first of people that I surrounded myself with in the real world, right? And when
Mm-hmm.
I was a kid growing up, I would watch people like John Edward, like
Mm-hmm.
like a medium, and Teresa Caputo, and like that
Yeah.
was what I was always attracted to. And people would be watching sitcoms or The Simpsons, and I'm like, oh, but did you catch that reading with that woman? And like I just found it fascinating because I had had these experiences myself, but could not, as you say, like turn it on and turn it off. And
Yeah.
today I still have a hard time turning it on and turning it off. So whatever you do learn from your friend, I would definitely love to pick your brain afterwards to see if
Oh
there's anything
yeah.
to pick up. Because yeah, there's a lot of people that I follow, a lot of mediums, right? A lot of different types of readers. But what I said, like I said in the episode two, what I connected to with you is that I find that you read like I do. It's very straight to
Mm-hmm.
the point, and it's very honest. And
Yeah.
you can tell that it's honest because it isn't always nice. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing, is sometimes the messages aren't always nice. And if you
Yeah.
out there watching this public service announcement, um, if you're watching this and everything the reader is telling you is phenomenal and great and amazing, and it's just love yourself and you'll get $1 million, then on the level, guys. Okay, watch yourselves, watch your bank accounts. Only go to readers who you've researched, you've looked through, you've watched their videos, you've watched their testimonials, like people who are there to, as you say, help others, right?
Yeah.
But I did have a couple of questions for you, of course. So
Yes, of course.
interesting that you already kind of brought up my first question, which is how old were you when you first realized you had a gift? And
Hmm.
you said 14, but if
Oh,
you could
well, 14 was when it was confirmed. I had already realized before
yes,
that. Um,
elaborate on that and how, like, what happened? How did it happen?
yeah, I was about 7 years old when I first started having visions. I don't really have memories before then. I didn't have like an abusive childhood, really. Like I didn't have anything for me to, for my mind to like repress, or suppress memories or something. But I don't really have much before like 7 years old. And the first experience I remember having was waking up in the middle of the night and seeing a very large black cat, like a panther sized, in my room, and like turning the corner out of my bedroom. And I was like 7 years old. So I was like, maybe six, maybe, I was young. So I was super excited. I was like, ooh, kitty, so I got out of bed to go and follow it. And that is when I started seeing what people call the Hat Man
Mhm.
and other shadow people. I started having sleep paralysis, sort of situations or experiences then. And I had this one dream that stuck with me. And I was raised in a Pentecostal community. It was a very close, tight-knit community where everything was about God. Everything was about, religion and the Bible, and everything, that didn't have an answer was the devil. And
Yeah.
so I had no other thing to really compare my experiences to. I believed that what I was seeing was demons. And I grew up saying that they were demons, that I was seeing demons. And I had this one dream where I was standing in, my perceived idea of what hell looked like. And that there were these two demons next to this man who had this hood on and this beard, and I saw his lips moving, and that the two demons came and stood on each side of me when I woke up. And when I woke up, my thought was, but they stayed with me. They stayed with me. They're still here. And it was like this idea that I carried with me all the time, that the demons were always there. They were always with me. And that was like the way that I explained what I was seeing when they were really just shadow people, was what I was saying. They weren't things that were coming after me to hurt me. They weren't experiences of things coming and trying to bring any sort of, torture to me or something. They were just, some of them weren't even aware that they existed from what I can tell. But that was, like I said, about 7 years old. And I think I was in second grade when a teacher kind of like took my face in her hands and was like, you're an old soul, like there is something about you, because of something that I had said about another teacher on the playground. She's like, how do you even understand this as a kid your age? Like, this is an adult problem, this is an adult situation, and you're in second grade. But it was just this awareness, this understanding of people that I've had super young. And then I really started kind of studying it and tapping into it a little more around 12 and 13. I was hiding, the books that I would bring home. I bought myself an oracle deck because tarot was the devil, but an angel's oracle wasn't that bad, right?
Get around it that way, right?
Oh yeah. And so I brought that home, and that's how I started practicing. But 14 was when I started having premonitions, and I was, like waking premonitions. I was dreaming about natural disasters and waking up to find out that I had essentially, some people say it's remote viewing, other people say it's like astral projection or something, being there while it was happening, because I was dreaming of it while it was happening, like witnessing everybody in this frantic reaction to it was one of the volcanoes in Iceland in 2010. And but that was much later. But that was just one of the experiences that I was having things like that as a kid too,
I
watching
understand that.
apartments burning down, from
Yeah.
down the street without knowing, or news stories would essentially play in my mind, and then a couple hours later they'd be on the news, as like breaking news of something that had just happened. But by 15, I was doing readings, on people through AOL chat rooms. So that's
That's
because,
awesome. You know,
yeah,
I and when I think about it, I'm like, I probably was too, just not like officially.
yeah,
I would just read people and chat with people, and they would tell me all their problems, and you would
hmm,
channel all the answers, right? And
yeah.
they would look at you like, wow, like you're so insightful, an old soul. And I'm like, well, I'll help from spirit. Now that we know that.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, I would go in there and be like, "Who wants a reading?" I'd be like,
I
"I'm doing
love
readings. So
that.
send me a picture. Send me your face." I would do
I love
face readings,
that.
and
Well,
they
like
didn't know I was 15 at the time.
that's insane. I actually have a question because something stood out to me. But if we could like reverse a little bit back to
Hmm.
the Hat Man, because
Oh
I have
yeah.
also dreamt of the Hat Man. And I'm sure that there are other people that have dreamt of the Hat Man that maybe don't understand what that is. If maybe you could talk a little bit about that, of what you know, your knowledge on the Hat Man.
Oh, well, I know there's a lot of different stories and ideas of who the Hat Man is online. At one point, I just gave up looking because I'm just like this. There are so many
Oh, it's like a
conflicting,
drowning
yeah.
circle
And
hole.
as far as I've experienced, is just it's the shape of a shadow. You would no face, no features, really. You just can tell that he has like a wide brimmed hat on. And it looks like sort of like a trench coat for most people that say that they've seen him as like a trench coat and a hat. Um, and that some people would see him in the corner of their room, some people, which I think is where the whole concept in movies is of like, oh well, you just saw the coat hanger or something, and that was it. You weren't really seeing a man in the room or something.
Yeah.
Where I had
But you
seen
were.
him,
Yeah.
yeah, where I had seen him was in our garage. Our garage was it was more of a carport. You too?
In the garage, in the corner of the garage, and he would
Yeah.
sit there, and then I would have people over in the garage, in my like safe space in my garage, because I'm a smoker, and we'd be in the garage, and they'd be like, oh, why do I feel this, like I feel like I'm being watched? I'm like, oh yeah, it's
Hmm.
the corner.
See, well, like, with me, it was just like our kitchen sink had this window that looked out into, it was more of a carport. It didn't have a garage door to it. So it was just, you pull your car in.
Yeah.
And the light would always be on in there during the night. And I would be so afraid to even go and get a drink at nighttime because the Hat Man would be there. And I'm like, and I couldn't see the person that the shadow was coming from. So I was just like, it's just a shadow. How is there just a shadow there? And I would literally crawl on my hands and knees across my kitchen floor. I
Oh,
was like, again, 8, 9 years old,
I
7 years
love
old at
that.
this time. And I would open the fridge and I would freak out over the light coming out of the fridge because I'm like, oh my God, what if it sees? And I would pull out you because we didn't have like the water, the fridge,
Thank you.
where you just
Yeah.
push the water. We would have gallons of water in the fridge. I'd pull it out and I would like lean over to the side of my kitchen to climb on the counter to grab a cup and sit there, and I'd like pour water on the floor in the cup while I was, drinking it, and then crawl back to my room. And I was so scared of this.
Quick.
It never moved. He never
No,
got up, did anything, said anything. But it was enough to terrify me when I was a kid. So
I did the basement thing. I did not like, and to this day, I mean, I'm in a basement now, but even in the house that I live in,
mhm.
it's an above ground basement. Like that's my basement window is huge. Like
Yeah.
I can't live in a space that has an underground basement. Don't know if
Hmm.
there's maybe trauma from a past life, to be truthful with you, because
Yeah.
I just, since I was really, really young, nope, can't do it. Too
Yeah.
close to the earth, too close to the ground in any respect. And it's like I connect to everything that's there or
Hmm.
has been there.
Yeah.
Also, right? But so
Yeah.
like, so when you first started and you were doing readings, when did you decide to do runes? Like when did runes come along into the picture?
Oh, that was recent, 3 years ago.
Ooh,
I
okay.
didn't know anything about runes. I didn't know anything about Norse mythology or anything. I was into Celtic mythology. specifically the Fae. I had a lot of experiences as a kid with these entities that, I was so like, it was like this acceptance that, oh, they're the fairies, like it's the Fae out there, and they're not good and they're not bad, but you just have to be careful and not
They're
mess
just
with them.
there.
And
Yeah.
it was just like they were there. Like, and it wasn't even like a thing of, oh, are Fae real? It was just like, I just knew they were there. Like that was my life before. Um, and so I had a lot of energy and a lot of time put into the idea of Fae when I was younger. But it was about 3 years ago when my husband and I were doing classes with the University of Metaphysical Sciences. And I was working on my bachelor's it was the bachelor's of metaphysical sciences. And I was doing this assignment that had to do with meditation. And so, I put on my headphones and I got cozy and I started doing my meditation, and I saw this like it was just like sort of like the corner of a building. And in the background of the building was this very like, I understand now looking at pictures and stuff, it was sort of like the Scandinavian sort of
Oh,
backdrop of it. I didn't know it really, like I
I
never
just
really
went
looked
to
into
like
that stuff back then.
ancestors and ancient, like, and
Yeah.
gaslit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had just seen that scenery, and there was a symbol in the sky, like just sort of off to the left. There's the sky, and I just saw like the sudden appearance of the symbol, which was one of the staves in the Helm of Terror, the Helm of Awe, the
Uh,
Bind Rune. And I didn't know what that was. So at the time I went into one of those like online programs where you draw a symbol and then they send you like the different sites or something, or symbols that look like it so you can figure out what symbol you're looking at.
yeah.
And I drew that in there, and then eventually it led me to the Norse runes, and I was like, wow, what is this? Like, I've been seeing these runes for months. When I was thinking about it, I was like, I saw them here, and I like was remembering all these times where I'd seen them, just kind of shaped around me. And I didn't know what they were. I was just kind of thinking like, well, that's a cool shape. And then I looked into them. I started looking into Norse mythology. I learned about Odin and Mimir and the whole story of Mimir's Well, and Hugin and Munin and everything. It was specifically those parts of the mythology that I really stuck to for a while, was Odin, Mimir, Hugin and Munin, and the runes. And before I started studying a little more of everything. But in that same time period, I had experiences with Odin, experiences with Freya, and to the point of having my medical debt wiped for at
Oh,
least for that year. It was nice. I was
definitely.
hospitalized again, a couple years later, but um, but that situation really kind of shined a light on everything. And then the experiences, it was dreams that I was having with Odin 3 nights in a row, where he showed himself to me in different like time frames, like ancient times, modern times. And it was like the first one was like him drawn on like stone on the side of a cliff or something, just like on rock.
There's a huge storm
Yes.
outside. Huge
Huh?
storm outside. I don't know if it picked up on the mic, but there was a massive storm outside, and as soon as you said that, it was like a huge crash of thunder, like right in front
Oh no, I
of
didn't.
the
I
house.
didn't hear it. I'll have to
So I was
listen
like,
back.
yeah, you just, yeah, he's here. Yeah, okay.
He's like, yeah, I did that. No, but that first dream was, the chalk drawing of Odin. Then the second night was him in like what would have looked like the Viking era. And then the third one was him in like the modern age sort of form of him. And I was like, something is going on. I'm like, I think I need to go get runes. Like, I think I'm kind of like being led in this direction. And I woke up one day and I said to my husband, I was like, Josh, I think I need to go get runes. Like, let's go look. And he's like, all right, let's go look now. So we went to some local metaphysical shops, and we walked into a few of them, and I was like, these are not the ones. These are not the ones. And he's like, what are you looking for though? And I was like, I think they're all blue, and I think they're all the same size, like the same size and same shape. And he's like, have you seen them before? I'm like, no. Like, I feel like that's what I'm looking for. And within like minutes of saying that, there was this big, like, it was like a 3 foot tall wicker basket full of little like velvet pouches of different types of runes. And I just stuck my hand down to the bottom and I pulled a random pouch out. And then I found my little blue runes. I was like, these are them. And he's like, oh, he's like, well, did you know about them? I was like, no, I had no idea. Like I
You
could
were lucky.
feel that's what they were going to be like. And as soon as I started
Trusted
using
that.
them, yeah, as soon as I started using them, they stuck like immediately. And it took me about 2 weeks to memorize all of them, and then the intuition started kicking in, and the visions with the readings started kicking in just earlier, sometime like last year or beginning of this year, where they kind of started like where I would pick a rune and I would have a vision that would go with it. And like, and sometimes I would, like, before I even looked at it, like people who watch me on TikTok, they'll see like my eyes kind of dart, as I'm like, my eyes are up here as I'm, shuffling through the runes down here. And then sometimes I'll see the rune before I pick the rune and it'll match it too. And I'll be like, oh, I just saw, Tiwaz, and I'll pull it and be like, ah, and I'm just as surprised as everybody else is. But yeah, it was only 3 years ago that I really started
Well,
with the
honestly,
runes.
I've watched you a lot, and it was so interesting because when I stumbled across you, it was just right when I was doing my rune deck. So I
Mm-hmm.
literally just printed my rune deck,
Oh,
and
awesome.
I was like, oh, like I'm gonna learn how to do runes now. And so like I basic learned them. I felt a connection, didn't feel pulled anymore to. For me, I find tarot is just very like you with the runes. Like it's just, I
Mm-hmm.
just see it. It's just easy. I don't even need
Yeah.
to know the cards. It's not about the cards or the meaning of the cards or the
Mm-hmm.
fucking visuals of the cards. It's like as soon as it just comes out, it tells a story for me. And
Yeah.
that's how I see it, right? So I understand that concept with the runes. And it was like I was just meant to connect with you. So for whatever reason now then future, it was meant to happen because it was just was like this
Mm-hmm.
pull, and it was just I was so excited that you took my call, and I fangirled. I don't even care, I did. I like was telling everybody, I was like, no, 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 you don't understand. And everybody's like, oh, okay, she's like a TikTok reader, and I'm like, no, no, she's like an accomplished author, like you don't understand.
Well,
Because
thank
I
you.
read and people don't talk about that all the time, like about you, right? And then it was funny because I was telling my partner Bruce, I was like, yeah, I was like, you got to like look up her stuff. And he looked you up and he was like, no, like that's who you're talking to. And I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like so excited. Well, because like I have so many questions, right? Obviously, we could probably do this for another 3 hours if we wanted to. But like,
Uh-huh.
um, so quick question since the whole book thing came up, because I do want to talk about ravens, but we'll get there. But
Mm-hmm.
with the book thing, the author thing, with the world you have like created, the first question that completely came to me that I wanted to know, and I wonder if other people want to know this or if it's just my crazy brain, is anything in that world that you have created based on or close to, yes, I do it, stuff that you have seen and or experienced in life?
Yes. The world itself was actually created by me and a friend of mine, my best friend Emily. Um, and I don't give her enough credit. I mean, I talk to her, or I talk about her whenever I talk about, the actual creation of the world, because when it comes to like the lay of the land and everything, she was the one who drew it.
Oh,
And then, we created the different races and the different species, the different religions and the politics and everything together. And I ended up creating languages on my own, but she had like her stories and I had my stories. But when it comes to the actual stories itself that I wrote with everything, there several of those are based off of vision. Several of the aspects of the book. There's I mean, for anybody who might read this or has read it, there's this place called the Chamber of Apan, which is like the chamber of one of the goddesses. And that was a place that I created myself when I was I want to say 13, 14, right? I remember prepping myself up, laying in bed, putting myself into this like trance-like state, as I laid there. And I was like, I'm going to create a place for me, like a place where I can just feel like this is where I can really, like, I can say what I need to say, I can see what I need to see, and just kind of feel like this is my safe space, because the world was not my space, my safe space at all.
Right.
Everything I had to do was in secret. There was no way that anybody could have really understood what was going on, and that was just sort of, I think, my way of internalizing everything, which it was really the only way for me to cope with everything. But in my opinion, seeing how what coping mechanisms or lack of coping mechanisms are doing to teenagers these days, I'm pretty happy with the way that I handled it. But that's, that was just one little thing that came from there. But the main male character, Arkai, is actually based off of what I guess some people would call an imaginary friend when I was younger. Didn't look like the character is in the book or anything. I created the looks over time, but it was the personality and the mentorship that came from this being, that I would sit there in my room and I would speak, and I couldn't hear it. Like, it wasn't like somebody speaking to
An
me,
audible
that I was like,
voice. Yeah, no,
yeah,
I get
it
it.
was just the sudden knowing that, like, and I would just know weird crap, like, wow, okay, well, there's no way for me to know that. And then I would go and research it and be like, oh my God, this is true. Or I remember going into like ninth grade biology, or eighth, no, I think it was ninth grade, and everything the teacher was saying, I was just raising my hand. And the first year of biology, because I had to take it twice, I failed it because I we
Yep,
moved every 2 years, and I got to a point where I didn't care anymore. So
me too. Yeah,
it was
every 2 years my
extremely
whole life.
frustrating.
Yep.
Yeah, my mom was a real estate agent, so she saw something nice and pretty, and we moved within 2 years because she wouldn't have to pay taxes on the house. But that's another story. But there were times where like the teacher would be asking questions, and I would just know the answer, and they're like, well, oh, where did you learn that? I'm like, I don't know. And then
Just
part of me would be like, I learned in my bedroom. So whatever this entity, this person was, told me. And like, this was
do.
just something that, I was learning things from when I was younger. And I turned him into a character in the book. But the I mean, there was a lot in there. My, obsession with the element of water. I mean, not just because I'm a Pisces. Like, I kind of was annoyed with the idea that water was my
Ew.
element, because I'm like, I'm a Pisces. Like, of course, water would be my element. But there was just something more, I think, like spiritual to it. Like, I could feel that there was life in water, just like I would feel it in trees. And I'm, for those who don't know, I'm like obsessed. I love trees. I came to North Carolina to be among the trees.
An energy thing
um
with water. It
yeah,
is. And I could 100% relate to that, even also being a Pisces.
yeah.
Which is funny. But yeah, I have an Aries moon and a Sag rising in my chart,
Hmm.
which means it's like fire, fire. And I
Yeah.
never really connected to the Pisces symbols, like the fish or like
Hmm.
the water or anything like that until like 2 years ago when I started actually learning astrology and went,
Yeah.
oh shit, yep,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, yeah, nothing
Yeah.
to say about that, right? But I wanted to say thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Of
We
course.
are going to hit up our time frame here for a part one. We could do an entire part two if you want to. Depends on
Hmm.
how where you're at, or we can cap it here and we can book you another day to talk about ravens.
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, tonight might be a little too late for me since it's already 10 here,
Yep.
but I would gladly have
Yes.
another chat session.
All right. Okay. Well, what we will do is we'll book you probably for September. So everybody
Hmm.
watching, we will come back with Diana so we can talk and delve into a little bit more about ravens and definitely want to delve in a little bit more about Norse mythology,
Hmm.
which I knew we were probably going to have to separate this into two. It's like the first time we spoke on the phone after 10 minutes, it was like, it felt like it was 3 hours and it was 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, okay. So we're going to get a lot of information out. And
Hmm.
I just want to say thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking a shot on me. I
Of
appreciate it.
course. Thank you
And
for inviting me.
oh, you're welcome, of course. And for all of you out there, I will put all of Diana's links down below. Make sure you follow her on everything. She does different things on different places. And join her Facebook group. I will put the link for that as well, Runes and Ravens, because she does crazy deals for readings in that group. So get in there, then you get notified, keep an eye out, and they're always on point. So thank you guys. Join us next time, and we appreciate you for joining us on our journey.